Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm back. As you can see, I'm on my couch. This is quite a cozy place to make videos, so I might start doing it here. Anyway, welcome everyone. I am Dr. D. I am the owner of Come Alive Coaching and Transformative Services, and welcome to the Come Alive Collective. So we are a group of folks who want the life that God has promised us, and we are after it. We are healing here. We are recovering here. We are being restored and made new here. And so if you are ready to roll up your sleeves and put in the work, if you're ready to see those prophetic words and messages and scriptures and promises that God has for you come into play in your life, then you have come to the right place, because we are all about how to walk out the words that God has given us, right? To make sure that we are able to get that healing, get that restoration. So welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about a few things. I'm actually going to share some of my business with y'all again. It seems like the Lord's just having me tell y'all all my little old business. So stay tuned, because you're going to get some more of the tea. Is that what's going on? I think that's what the cool kids say. I'm going to tell you a testimony here in a second. But the title of this particular video is Do You See What I See? And that makes me think of, wasn't it a song like, do you see what I see? Or was it, do you hear what I hear? Something like, I don't remember it. But it was a song. Like when I say, do you see what I see? It makes me think of like, that song. Anyway, so what we're talking about today, y'all. All right. What we're talking about today is, do you see what I see? And so let me share a little bit about my personality. Anybody who's been watching any of my videos know that I say this. I am very type A. So that sometimes folks think that means one thing that it doesn't. But anyway, so I believe in facts. I like to see cold hard facts. I like to be planful and logical, and I am goal directed and driven, oriented. I like plans, objectives, all of that good stuff, right? Because of that, I think coupled with my education, advanced degrees, whatever you want to call it, my natural bent is not one that is faith-filled, if you could wrap your head around that. So even though I'm doing these type of videos, I constantly have to fight my own knowledge, my own understanding, and my own natural personality, which is, where are the facts? Okay, what are the objectives? What's the goal? Let me figure out how to get there. Let me follow it stepwise. That's who I am. God knows this. He loves me. He created me this way. But I'm aware of that. I'm aware that that means that a lot of times I have trouble with faith, with just believing God because he says so, or just believing God because it's written in the Bible, or just believing it because it's happened to someone else. That is something that I struggle with. I used to struggle with it a ton more. And God was like, okay, bet. Because I was like, God, heal this in me, please. I don't want to be this way. I want to be able to just rest in you and have faith in you and not feel like I have to lean to my own knowledge and wisdom and understanding, which, y'all, compared to God, ain't nothing. It ain't even a thing. It's not a thing. And I know that intellectually, but in my heart, I get fearful when I don't understand what's next, what's coming, what are we doing, what's the plan, the objectives. So, yeah, I asked God, I was like, God, please take this away from me. He's like, okay, bet, I got you. So what he did, because he's amazing, is he he does these things for me all the time. He does them for you too. We're his children. He loves us. But here recently, when I was really struggling hard, I'm like, okay, God, this healing journey for me has been years and years and years. I feel like I'm doing the things you asked me to do. I'm giving up the things you asked me to give up. I'm healing in the ways that you are restoring me. I'm trying my best to bring me to you, right? To surrender my will, surrender everything to you. I'm doing the best I can, God. But why does it look like nothing's changing? I know you're not trying to break me, but like, are you trying to break me? I'm like, denying my flesh and doing what I think you're asking me to do. And it's hard. And I'm tired. And nothing is changing. I'm like, my house looks the same. My car looks the same. My, family looks the same. Everything looks the same, which are phenomenal blessings. And I know that, so don't fuss at me. I know, but in my humanity, I'm like, I'm ready to see the promises. Right? So, anyway, so God was like, oh, really? Are things the same? So, look, if you haven't yet, take a look at my what did I call it? When it looks like God is doing nothing video. It's a testimony about how God essentially carried out a plan he had for me from high school all the way out to my doctorate degree, that allowed me to have my doctorate degree completely paid for, and allowed me to come out with no debt from that, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, go check it out. So anyway, God's like, oh really? Is everything exactly the same? Okay. So what happened, y'all? Here's time for the tea. So I have a good friend, and I don't know if she'll see this video. If she does, I'm shouting her out. I have a good friend, Tony. For those of you who follow me, you might have seen me on her channel. She talks about me a little bit. I'm the Dr.D. She mentions a few times. Her name's Tony. Her channel's name is Esther's Way. Esther's Way. If you have not checked her out, please do. You could be here because you've seen me on her channel, but if you don't know who she is, check her out. Anyway, Tony is gifted with dream interpretation. She has a beautiful gift on her life. God uses her mightily. She's actually a friend, a very close friend. We talk every day. So I remember one night I had a dream, and because I struggle with faith, I'm like, that didn't mean anything. It's just like a random dream of this and that, comings and goings, and it's randomness. So I didn't even tell Tony for like 2 or 3 days what the dream was. So I told her my dream, and she was like, that's beautiful. That's amazing. There's so much richness. There's so much in there. And I'm like, oh, what? It was a random dream with random things happening. And she's like, no, girl. And I'm like, really, girl? And she's like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, okay. So I told her my dream. She interpreted. There was a lot of pieces in the dream, but the one for the point of this particular video is she said part of the video part of that dream represented that I would be getting a new job. And I'm like, what? I have a job. I enjoy my job. I work at a hospital. I love it. I love the people. I love, what? And I'm like, I'm perfectly happy in my job. I'm fine with my job. And what is she talking about? But I'm like, if she says it, I believe it. Because y'all know it's so much easier to believe the gift and the call that God has on someone else's life than on your own. So I'm like, if Tony said God told her, I believe God told her. When God's like, I've been telling you, but okay. Okay. Told you too. Okay. So anyway, so God told her I was going to get a new job. And I'm like, what? I was not looking for a new job. And the only way I would take a different position is that it would have to be a very specific type of job. What I like to do in psychology is I am a clinical psychologist, but my bent and my leaning is more to systems, the organization as a whole, the health of the organization, kind of industrial organizational feel is really what I like to do full time. And that's my way of making sure that the individual person is getting good care, is that the entire system is operating optimally. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, the types of jobs that the only way I would leave the job I'm in, which allows me to do both of those things, both the kind of more organizational side and seeing people individual, is if I really was able to just do the organizational side. This is getting a little in the weeds, but follow me. I say that to say this. At my hospital that I work at, that's not an option. You're clinical. The psychologists at the hospital I work with are clinical. They see individuals, they see families, they do group. That's what we do. So I'm like, I hear her and everything. I believe her, but like, there's no other type of job I could get in my hospital. Follow me. So I say, do you see what I see? Now listen here. Okay, so she interprets the dream. After 2 days, 2 days. I've been in this job I'm in for almost 4 years. Nothing like this has ever been available. 2 days later, a job announcement comes out. Guess what type of job this is? It's a psychologist position, but it is one that is specific to the hospital organization. Anybody who knows about psychology, you'll kind of follow me. I don't want to bore everyone else, but the point is that is exceedingly rare. So much so that I have actually never seen those types of positions in the hospital setting. I have seen them on the grander scale of the hospital system, but in the hospital walls itself, never seen it. Okay, and I've been with this particular hospital for nearly a decade now. Never seen it. Okay, 2 days after she interpreted the dream, this is what happened. Okay, a job posting came. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is what God is saying. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, right? This is what God's telling me. So I go out there, put in my application. Anybody who does anything with application systems knows that they take a while when you have to put it in a great big system and it has to get processed through. So usually it takes about 2 weeks after the job closes for it to maybe go on and blah, blah, blah. So I put in my application. 3 days. 3 days later, I was getting contacted for an interview. 3 days after the job closed. 3 days, which is unheard of in the system that I work in. 3 days. 3 days. You catch that? 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right now. God is good. He loves numbers. Anyway, 3 days. So not only was the type of job that I wanted, not even something that's really seen, but then 2 days after God told me I was going to be getting a new job, the posting came out. Okay, and then 3 days after the job closed, I'm getting contacted for an interview. Right? And then a day after the interview, I got offered the position for a job that I've never seen ever, this type of job, right? God moved on my behalf and gave me something that I didn't even know I needed for the sake of my own recovery journey. So for the sake of my own recovery journey, I asked God several things. One of the things is to increase my faith, to do things, to let me see his hand in things that I wouldn't ordinarily see. Now, if that job had just came available and I had maybe applied and I wouldn't, but because he gave me the dream and had me bring the dream to Tony, he wanted to make sure I knew it was him. Then he moved it through the system in a way that was so quick. It's nothing shy of miraculous. Nothing moves through our system that quickly. I've never seen it. It takes usually probably about a month from start to finish on the short end. And as much as six weeks to 8 weeks, probably 3.5 or 4 days, basically. 4 days. 4 days. God did that intentionally. He wanted me to see a few things that I want to share with you. So he wanted me to see first, if we only look at what we can see in the physical, right? If I only thought about, well, this is the type of job I want and they're not available in the hospital system that I work with. And, even if I applied, I don't have that specialized training. So I don't know if I would get it. And it's probably never going to happen because that only happens like in our big system. And so I'd have to leave and come back. If I looked at it that way, I never would have had the faith to believe it. But because I looked at it the way that God told me to look at it, because he gave me that dream and said, this is what I'm going to do for you. When those things started to unfold, I had no doubt. I was putting, and you know what I actually did? You know what I did? Is, do you see what I see, right? As soon as that job posting came out, I was like, it's you, God. I see you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're telling me. I went out that day and went into my closet, took the clothes out, bought all new work clothes, because I've been teleworking, so I haven't needed, bought all new work clothes. I bought a new work bag. I was like, I need to get all these appointments done, before I go back into my hospital system. So I went and I made an appointment. I got my tires on my car changed because I was like, I'm going to be commuting again. And what else did I do? I had got a dentist appointment because I'm like, I hadn't gone to the dentist for the whole pandemic. So let me get that squared away. I basically started immediately moving as if that job was mine because I knew what God told me. And so I saw what he saw. I saw what he saw. I didn't see what most folks would say. First of all, you're not that qualified, okay? You don't have this very specific bit of training. Second of all, you don't know who all is going to apply. Third of all, you can't just put in an application the same day, be like, yeah, that's my job. Why can't I? Why can't I if that's what God said, right? So that's why I said, do you see what I see? And the way that this thing moved through our system in 4 days, nothing but God. Nothing but God. And God was showing me right then and there, we can't look at what we see with our eyes. We have to stay connected to him, and we have to listen to him, and we have to move as if what he is saying is true. We cannot rely on the things that we see. It's all him. Right? It's all him. And as his children, he will order our steps. He will tell us where to go. He'll tell us when to go there. He'll tell us what to do. And he will move things on our behalf. So while I was sitting here saying, you know what, God, I've been toiling. I've been doing what you told me to do, Lord. I trust you. I believe you. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. He's like, okay, bet. Really? Because the whole time I was sitting here being obedient to God, doing what he told me to do, he was creating a job for me. The office that I'm going into is brand new. The director who had to put the office in place is also new to the facility. The supervisor over this particular area she did complete some specialized training that she's recently completed, which allowed her to lead the unit. Do you see what I'm saying here? All of these different pieces were being put in place when I'm like, God, I'm listening. I'm doing what you told me to do. I'm doing, nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. Plenty was changing. Plenty was changing. I couldn't see it with my physical eyes, but God was moving heaven and earth to put these pieces of my path into place for me, so that when he said go, it was done, right? It was already done. As soon as God gave me the word, it was done. As soon as he said, you're getting a new job, and then pointed me to the job he wanted me to have, it was done. It was done when he said it. It was done. He knows the beginning from the end, so it was done before I was even conceived. But you know what I'm saying, right? So when I say, do you see what I see? What I mean is, do you have on your spiritual glasses, right? Do you have the perspective that you need to stay connected to God? Because so often we're like, well, God, oh Lord, you gave me this promise. You promised me that you were going to help. You promised this and you promised that. And God is laying out our paths in front of us. He's saying, here's step one, baby girl. Here's step one, my son. Here's the step. It's right here. And we're so busy doing all of this and looking over here and deciding we want to try this and we want to go here and we want to do that. God's like, honey, here's the step. Here's the step right here. This is step one of your path. No, I haven't given you 1,000 steps of your path because you won't step on the first one that I have given you. So we have to make sure that we have our perspective cleared up, that we can see clearly what God is telling us to do. Do you see what I see? Do you have your eyes on our Father? Do you see in the spirit realm the step that you're supposed to take, the next step, right? He might not give you 15 steps because he doesn't know if you can steward them yet. He doesn't know if you can you listen to one instruction, right? We want God to give us everything. Tell, when am I getting married? What's the date? What's the time? What's the person name? And we haven't even stepped on step one, which is getting somewhere and being quiet so God can heal our hearts so that we can be healthy enough for that spouse. Right? We're like, God, where's my business? You promised me a business. And he's like, I want to give it to you. It's right there. However, this is the path for you to get there. Here's step one, which is sit your hips down and learn how to manage your own money first. But here you go, steady buying some clothes and shoes and cars you can't afford and houses you can't afford. And he's like, yeah, that's not the step I told you to step on. Now, luckily for us, blessed are we, that his grace is sufficient, so he can always course correct us. But do you see what I see? Can you keep your eyes on him so that he can tell you the step that he wants you to take, so he can get you to the promised land that you're after, that he's promised to you? Do you see him? Do you see the steps, or are you so busy doing your own thing, derailing your own healing, slowing down your own process, and then blaming God and saying, you're not listening, you don't see me, you don't care? When God is saying, I'm moving heaven and earth for you over here. If I told you that you were going to get married, if I told you you were going to have a child, if I told you were going to start that business, if I told you were going to have a company, all of those things were done the moment I gave you the word. The moment I said it, it was done. But now you have to walk the path that I have set out for you to get them, for you to get those things. So often we're mad at God. You promised me this 10 years ago. You promised me, and we're not doing the things he's asked us to do, right? So make sure that we've got our perspective squared away so that we can see what it is that he wants us to do, so we can see the steps that we need to take, okay? The other thing that I wanted to make sure to really, really highlight, because this was very important for me, being a type A type personality, when I pray to God and I'm like, God, I really need this, or I want this, or whatever. I used to, God's healing me from this for sure, but I used to get so frustrated when I say, well, God, you promised me this, or you spoke a word saying I would have that. Where is it at? Right? Why is it taking so long? Where is it at? But God wanted me to just kind of reiterate for folks, you might not see the whole plan. You might not see every step, right? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope for a future. God has the plans. It says, for I know the plans. For I, I, him, Yah, right? Yahweh, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. You might not know the whole plan, but guess what? The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. You get steps. He has the plan. He has the plan, right? So keep your eyes focused and your eyes peeled on the steps, and make sure that you're doing them and walking them out. Because, the other thing I wanted to say was the step that God asked me to do right before he gave me that dream was to quit a job. So I'm working on this, y'all. I have come a long way from the busyness. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the previous video, Coffee and Recovery. Check out Coffee and Recovery. I'm recovering from the spirit of busyness, honey. I like to stay busy. Anyway. So, yes, I'm recovering from some type A tendencies. And so the thing that he asked me to do before I got the dream was to quit another job that I had. So I have several jobs, but my main one is at a hospital, but I also have this company that I'm doing with you all. And then I also was teaching online and a few other things. So he told me to quit. And immediately, he told me to quit. And I wrote my resignation letter that day. And I was like, okay, God, if that's what you're saying, I'm done. I'm out. I'm finished. And then the next day he gave me the dream. And then 2 days later, the job showed up. But anyway, so he knows what he has for us. And I think part of that had to do with checking my obedience. Am I going to listen? I think the other part of it had to do with he's still healing and restoring me. And excessive busyness is one of the things I use to not feel and to not hurt. And that does not allow me to make room for God. But anyway, I'm not sure everything that he was working out in that. But as soon as I followed the directive that he gave me, I didn't have the whole plan. I didn't know he was going to say, quit this job, because guess what? I'm going to give you one at your main job that you love even more. And that is, excites you and is restorative for you, and that you're going to meet godly people there. And that, I didn't know any of that, right? So God has the plans, for I know the plans, right? But the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. You get the steps because you're not God, okay? So follow the steps. Do you see what I see? Please, 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 please put on those spiritual glasses. Stay connected to our Father. Look for the steps that he is outlining for you and not the ones that you want to take for yourself. And I just simply cannot wait to hear some of y'all's testimonies. I really can't. I hope the testimonies that I'm sharing are helpful, but I can't wait to hear what God is doing in your life. So please, as we continue to build our YouTube family, as I continue to build this ministry and business, please do write in the comments. Please do share the videos with people you think they'd be helpful for. Please I always forget this. Please subscribe, hit the bell. Do all the things, honey. Just do all the things to stay connected to me, because I love you. I want to see God moving in your life. I want to help, share my lessons that I have learned so that you can learn some stuff too, because that's what we're here for. So, as always, you've got this because God's got you, and I cannot wait to see you next time. And don't forget, do you see what I see? Right? Stay looking up. Trust me. From a true type A personality, trust me, you don't know all the answers, okay? You don't. God does, though, and he wants to share them with you. So, until next time, y'all be blessed.